Welcome to Real 45 with Stefan and Greg Hancock. We vibe out and have real talk, so tune in and check this out. Yeah, today is a new day. Let's seize it now and get hype. We talking about our careers, our family, and just life. Yeah, share my story with you. Inspiration like every day. Real 45, we gon' keep it live. I keep episodes on replay. Ay,
Yeah.
Real 45. Yeah, Real 45. Show them how we do it, man.
Show them how we do it.
Yeah,
How do we do it?
we just do it like this. Welcome to Real 45, episode 4 with Greg Hancock. I'm Stefan Janell, and thanks for listening to this episode. And we're really pretty excited about this episode. Today we have a special guest today that we will talk about some more soon.
Totally.
Last episode we have really fun with the Scottish guy. I just cut it away with it. I just get home and talked to my wife and said, "Do you have one of those kilts?" So I bought my daughter's one.
I saw the photo you sent me, so the kilt is growing on you, I can see.
Yeah, it's growing.
Wait. You took this hanging loose from the kilt thing to another level, so anyway,
Maybe we'll post a photo on the Instagram later. Huh?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Jerry and Gordon, they'll be pretty impressed if we do that, or the whole of Glasgow Tiger. So anyway, that was a great episode. Thanks again, guys.
Thanks. Today we are drinking some Scottish whiskey.
Is that what that is? I thought it was water.
Now it is.
Oh, right. So that's what I thought. You just needed to change the filter in your water system because it was a little yellow.
No, just spice it a bit.
They're really wearing off. On us. So
yeah,
it's pretty cool. Yeah, thanks again, Scotland.
Thanks.
We're from the Highlands.
I would like to get back a bit in this episode to talk about what we talked about in the first episode. That we were starting about your career and when you grew up, and we started to talk about your mom and dad and California, basically.
Yeah, exactly. That was, yeah, for sure. That's kind of the idea at the beginning, when we talked about the podcast and what we're going to do, and I needed somebody to help me to tell my story, and so you're becoming kind of the author, as much as a little bit of everything, but. Yeah, we wanted to tell the story. You were cool because you asked me too. Like, I want to hear it from, how did it get started? When you were a kid, and when you go from that level, I mean, we should really go back to where it really started, and let's talk to mom and dad and start from the beginning.
Yeah.
Sadly, we can't go back to the grandparents at this stage, But anyway, we can get a lot of stories out of it, and.
No, but we could actually talk to your mom.
We could.
I think that she will be with us today. Mom? Are you
I'm
with us?
with you. Hi, guys.
Is mom in the house? Mom's in the house.
Mom's in the house. Yeah.
Come on, mom, throw a real 45.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Thanks. We want to welcome my mom, Carroll, to the Real 45 podcast. And Real 45, as everybody knows, is kind of like a real movie reel. So we're rewinding the wheel. The reel. The wheel. See, I always go back to a wheel because of the racing and the wheel and whatever. Wheels go round and round, right? Kind of like the wheels on the bus.
Exactly.
But we're rewinding the reel, and we're going to tell the real story. So we want to start with mom. I mean...
Yeah, and one of the cool things is when we started to do this and you started to talk about all the stories you have, and taking everything from the beginning and just be that honest that you can be when you talk to me. Yeah. And when you explain for me about all the friends or contacts you have and all these things, I'm just getting excited. I just wanted to do a lot of these episodes so you guys can hear it.
Well, you know what, like that, I get pretty excited too, and the more I start to tell you the stories, the more stuff comes, and there might be a lot of people who don't give a darn to hear what I got to say, but there might be a few that are interested. And anyway, I still want to tell the story. I have never written a book, and a lot of people wanted to write books, so I'm going to tell the story. And if you want to listen, you can listen. If you don't, you don't have to, but you're going to get it from...
You're going to give it a shot.
I'm going to give it a shot. We're going to get... Yeah, there might be a couple of shots taken throughout the process, too.
Probably.
And we're going to get it from the horse's mouth, as we say in English. And I have to say that as we say in English because I'm talking to a Swede. So
Yeah. But I heard that you can speak Swedish too. Because you said ja alldeles just before.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh. I'm going to stop for a second because, Will Ferrell, one of the funniest men alive, has a Swedish wife, as many people know.
Oh.
And one of his skits that he talks about, I don't remember what show it was on, a talk show, and they talked about this, and they said, "Can you speak Swedish?" And he said, "Yeah, I can speak Swedish." "Oh, what can you say?" "Ja, ja, 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 just det, ja, 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 ja."
That's how we talk now.
So yeah, when I say it, I feel like I'm Swede.
Oh, that's
Anyway,
good.
let's get back to life.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it got real. So
Yeah, let's get going, Mom. How are you? You're in sunny California, and we're sitting here in cold Sweden.
I am. I watched the weather in cold Sweden, and I'm happy to see the sunshine here.
it's pretty cool that we can do a broadcast like this with so many miles in between with water and all sorts of stuff that you got to cross, and here we are and have such a clear channel, and the beauty of technology is awesome. So Costa Mesa and Norrtälje, Sweden aren't really that far away.
No, it isn't. It's just some hours away.
Yeah, it's just only hours. It's not really far.
Time is everything we have.
That's right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
thanks for spending the time with us, Mom. We have lots to ask, and we want to hear it from you. We want to hear it. Nothing's rehearsed, as we keep saying, and
I think that I wanted to hear about you first. Can we talk about you, Mom? Carol, I say Mom too.
Should Stefan call you Mom, or should he call you Carol?
A lot of people call
Not
me
grandma,
Mom.
though, right? Are you a Nana or a grandma?
I'm a Nana.
Yeah.
That's right.
Best thing there is.
Where were you born? And when are you born?
Where was I born? I was born in Los Angeles, California. I'm a native Californian, the Queen of Angels Hospital. How about that?
And now you're living in Costa Mesa. That's not that far away, is it?
No, maybe about 40
Nice.
miles.
Yeah. Can you put that in kilometers,
Yeah.
for him, Mom? He's not sure about miles.
Is that like 40 foot?
No, I can't.
It's more than 40 inches.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, then I know.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. What have you done for a living?
I have been in the automotive paint business since I was 19 years old. I started for the manufacturer, BASF, and went into the paint stores and managed paint stores for about 49 years.
Did you sell painting, or
Yeah.
did you paint cars, or?
No, we sold the paint, sold and delivered the paint to the body shops and the dealerships who painted the cars. We had
She worked for some rad people.
yeah.
Wow.
It's nice
What?
just to be in the same industry all your life, and you make so many friends along the way. You know, if you change to another paint store, you've got more friends and more friends. It's been a good road.
But isn't that kind of business a lot of men's in it? So you were kind of lonely girl in that kind of business, or is there a lot of girls in it too?
Inside the store, it was kind of balanced. There was girls and guys, but as far as the paint shops, no, that was all guys. Here.
That's
Wow.
pretty good. Wow. Are those wind chimes? Do
It sounds like a spaceship.
Sorry
you
about
live in a
that.
spaceship?
Where do I put it? Okay.
No, that was cool though, because we got the wind chimes, so it must be breezy over in California.
Oh.
That's what it was.
And then, yeah. What are you doing today?
Today I'm talking to you guys.
Are you still working?
No, I retired 2 years ago.
Wow.
Big adjustment.
How does that feel?
it feels great. But there's times when I kind of miss all of it, the hustle and the bustle and being so busy. But I wouldn't go back now for anything.
And she worked, I mean, she was devoted to her job, you know, from day one. She loved, I can speak for you, I think of that way, Mom. You loved your job, right? You loved your work
Yeah.
and the people. And probably, you know, everybody has their hard times, but in general, most of the stores that I can speak, all the employees, the owners, or the what do you call them, the body shop managers and the painters, just loved my mom. They loved when she called because they could talk to her, you know, and they became friends. And she was super well respected. But she worked a lot of weekends, whether she had to or she just wanted to, a bit of both. But yeah, she's you know, for her to, when she retired 2 years ago, classic person that you go, this is going to be hard for her. You know, because she, you know, she's so used to that hustle and bustle, and she's been doing that for so long. I was curious how it was going to work. So, but she's come under a pretty good form of life now, and you know, she gets up real early every morning and goes, you know, gets right out there or
Right out there in the kitchen for a cup of coffee. Check my mail.
I heard from a lot of people that retired that they haven't been so busy until they retired.
I've heard that too, and I'm kind of lazy. I got used to, for all my life I got up at 5 a.m. in the morning, you know, and you were on the run till whenever you got home. And now it's not 5 o'clock in the morning anymore. It's more like 7. Like, what am I going to do today?
I think she's lying. I don't think she gets up at 7 unless one of us sends her a text message. That's good. And she reads over, here's her phone pling. Or maybe she does get up and she's but she doesn't get going.
Yes.
Well,
Until 10 or
No, we just make jokes about it. She's up and at 'em, but we give her a hard time because she enjoys her days now, which is awesome. We're not jealous too much.
No.
Yeah, it is.
Not
It's
at all.
fun.
How is it to have your son and your grandkids so far away in the summer season?
You know, it's just something we have to learn to live with. But the fact that knowing they're going to be home each year for, you know, a good 4 months is that's what keeps me going. Is you miss the little guys when they're gone. I think, heck with Mom and Dad, where are my little boys?
But you get really, really, what do you say, technical. You have to use all of these Skypes and computers, and you have to call with a lot of FaceTime and all of these buzzwords.
We've really made her focus on her social media now too, and you know, she's got to be on Twitter, she's got to be on Instagram. I don't know. Are you on Snapchat?
No, and I'm not on Twitter either. Only Instagram.
Oh, gotcha.
And Facebook.
Oh, there's
That
somebody
keeps me
out there
busy.
that's Mom Hancock on Twitter. Oh, shit.
There's a lot of Mom Hancocks.
There's a lot of Mom Hancocks out there that are claiming they're you.
Oh, that's cool. Hey, if we were going to talk about Greg, how was he as a kid?
Honestly, he was an awesome kid. He did.
Are we honest now?
I'm being very honest. Always smiling. He always had the same attitude. The funniest thing is he moves in a slower pace. When the kids were getting ready for school in the morning, you'd always go, "Come on, Greg, come on, Greg." And I told people later on when he grew up, I said, you know, he may be late somewhere, but boy, he's never late to the airport and he's never late to the track, and he goes fast. So.
I am late to the airport, but I'm right on time at the same time.
Oh my
that's
gosh.
good.
Yeah.
Talking about fast, I have a strange question for you.
Really?
He wants to be first and fast and a
Yeah.
winner all the time. So when Greg was made, was it romantic or was it a quickie?
Do I dare say this? That he
yeah,
he was the only planned child. Let me put it that way.
Oh, there you go, guys. I
Sorry.
love my brother and my sister.
Sorry, Carrie and Dave. I love you pieces.
Oh, the truth just came out, people.
Oh,
Bam!
That's the truth.
oh, so that's why you're winning all the time, because you're on plan, right on time.
You know what? I try to be very, very diplomatic in my answers and when I talk to people. And I just realized that my mom is doing really good because I've heard her say the same thing about my brother and my sister.
Oh,
Just kidding. So, Mom, this has been cool because I've had a couple of conversations with both my brother Dave and my sister Carrie. My brother's older than me. My mom was, maybe I should let Mom tell the story, but I have an older brother Mom was married once before she met my dad. When did you guys were
We
high
were.
school sweethearts, Mom? You
Yeah,
were
and then
Bill Schneider?
we ended up getting married, and I was still in high school. I was still in my senior year, and in that year, I graduated from high school. Well, got married and had a baby, and
so how old were you when you get to
I was
Dave?
17, just before I turned 18.
Wow.
But I loved every minute of it. I mean, I
Sweet.
loved being a mom, even at that age. So
Did you have a lot of support from your mom and dad?
my
From your
dad
parents?
died when I was 7, and my mom, I mean, she when that all took place, I mean, she says, "Well, if you're gonna come here and live with the baby," I'm like, "No, I'm not." Yeah. No, my mom was very supportive about the things that I did, and I went to her a lot for questions and somebody to.
Was did Grammy, your mom, that was my Grammy. Was she married then, Mom? Or was she with
No,
or together? No.
she had remarried to a guy that just he was not a good man. So she she dated a little bit, but for the most part she stayed single, and
That's cool.
Yeah.
You know what? And think about the periods of life and stuff going through and what we live today. Pretty bad. Hey, is that an airplane?
oh my gosh, I should have muted it.
No.
This is cool.
No.
I told Stefan you lived in a pretty cool place.
Oh yeah. I heard about that.
Right under the flight path.
You're living high up, don't you?
Yeah,
Is that like a treehouse or something?
yeah, my little tree house. Love it.
Did you build it yourself?
Pardon?
Did you build it yourself?
No. It was the people that lived in.
She created it.
Ah.
Yeah.
No, so yeah, so anyway, going back. So you were 17, newly married, a baby. How was that? I mean, right out of high school.
Yeah. And, we were young, Greg. I mean, obviously super young. And,
Yeah.
Dave's dad it just turned 21, and he wanted to play all of a sudden, out there in the world. And I understood that. It was a little rough for a while, but, and we ended up getting a
made it
divorce.
work.
Yeah. And I went to work from there on, and,
For how long were you married?
only for a couple years. We had gone together in high school for about 2 or 3 years. Just, I think the timing was not good for an age.
Do you still have contact with him?
Yes, we've always stayed friends. We have a great relationship.
cool.
Yeah, so that's good. He's in Chicago. He's been there for years. So
And he went there pretty much right around the time when you guys separated, right?
Shortly after that, he went to Hawaii for a couple years, and then moved on to Chicago, back to where he was born in Chicago, so it was kind of like going back home for him, I guess.
That's so rad. It feels like a lot of Californians too, where people live there have to go to Hawaii and live for a short period and do something, right? It's like quite, you got to do it, you know, and then you get island fever or something, and you got to leave because you're stuck out there in the middle of
My
the
brother,
Pacific.
yeah, did the same thing.
Yeah, Uncle Tom too. But I got so many friends too, and that have done it. And like Sean, he lived there for a while doing construction, and yeah, it's just rad that people do it, and yeah, been there, done that. But did he? When Bill left, then he went there, and then you more or less went to work right
Yeah,
away.
I did.
This is kind of cool because some of these stories that Mom's telling now. I mean, I know basics of it, but I'm getting a little bit more info that sometimes we don't ever dig into it just because. But now we're doing this. It's kind of fun. So,
he doesn't talk about it in the living room.
No, that's right. Yeah, so Mom, tell me about that. I wasn't when you were 17, and we'll take that one over a glass of wine, maybe.
Yeah.
I just got lucky. I just knew that, okay, I need to do something because I don't want to live at home with Mom and a baby. So I was lucky. I got a good job in that industry, and it stuck, and it helped me raise the kids and pay the rent and whatever else. It was all good.
Where was that you worked then?
It was
what
called,
was your first store?
back then it's called RM, but it's many years ago, it was bought out by BASF. Have you heard of BASF, Greg?
Yeah, I know that because Dad worked there too.
He did.
He worked for them
Yeah.
for a while.
It was they manufactured, they were the manufacturers in Anaheim on Lemon Street, and they actually manufactured there, and I worked in the office and took orders from all the paint stores.
Oh, right. So they sold direct during that period. So it wasn't running through other paint stores.
Well, we delivered to the.
Okay, so this is kind of
what we did is the paint stores ordered paint from us, and then we delivered the paint to the paint stores, and therefore it went on to the body shops.
Then the body shops. Got it. Okay.
And Greg's dad worked in the same place. So did you meet him there?
No, we met.
Where did you and Dad meet?
Before you were born, obviously. There was a lot of friends. We all had a big group of friends, and your dad was always hilarious and funny, and we used to go to the river a lot and just have fun, and it went from there. Got married and had 2 more sweet babies.
Super cool. So did you guys met more or less being friends with other people through that way?
Yeah, we did. I mean, and we had a lot of friends, big group of people that we hung out with, and we'd go to the river, and we just had fun, and we all had a bunch of kids, and we were young in our early 20s when, gosh, I think I was.
For how long were you single?
Good question. Probably, I'm trying to think when that was. 70.
I can't remember.
How much older is your brother?
Yeah.
He's 5.5 years old.
And so Dave was probably about 4 or 5, somewhere around there when I married Bill Hancock. Yeah, I married 2 Bills.
And so the story goes. We'll get to the Bill the Bill Wilbur thing later.
All right. Okay. Okay. So you met, and then you get married.
We did.
Pretty fast then.
What, honey?
Did you get married quite quick after you met each other? You and Bill Hancock?
Not too far off. I mean, because we'd known each other for so long, and we just ended up one day just jumping in my Volkswagen, and we drove straight we had friends at the river, so this is crazy. We drove to Vegas, changed our clothes, went in and got married, went back outside, changed our clothes, and went straight to the river and hung out with our friends.
This is right out of a movie.
It was,
Did Elvis marry you guys?
yeah,
That's so cool.
yeah, it was. And my mom was so angry with me. She goes, I can't believe you did that. You didn't even tell me? No, we didn't think anything of it. It was just like, let's just go do this.
That's so cool.
Wow.
I like how you just went in, changed your clothes, got married,
We
came out,
did.
changed your clothes, and
Oh
just
my
went and
gosh, I
partied.
can see it clearly.
That wasn't the end of like 1969 or something, was it?
That was, let's see, it had to have been right around there because you were born in 70. In between, I'm not exactly sure.
You see where we're going with it, right?
No, it wasn't like that. Whatever you're going to say.
Well, you keep talking about the river, and some of the people that listen to this, when we come from Southern California, and we didn't live too far from the beach. At that stage, we probably lived like 30 miles or something, 25 miles away from the beach.
Like that.
And thereabouts, so like 40 Ks or whatever it is, 40 plus Ks. And it was always quite common too to go out to the Colorado River. So it's how far of a drive was that, Mom? 4 hours, something? 5 hours?
Maybe 4
I
at
guess.
the most.
Quite far away.
Anyway, it was.
I mean, it was a big deal with all of us back then. You know, we were in our 20s. Really, I mean, you were, gosh, I was 23 when you were born, Greg. A lot would happen in those first few years.
But it's cool. Like they'd go out to the river there, and it was always hot out there in the desert, where the Colorado River was, and it was a party zone. There was a lot of ski boats and good times, you know. And I was only, I mean, later when I showed up, it was a different story. But people today, they still go to the river. You know, it's like that never goes away, and it's still the thing to do. And so when it's fun to hear Mom talk about going to the river. You know, going to the river. Many people don't know. Some will and some won't know where the river. Where's the river? Which river?
Yeah. And some of my friends still go. Jim and Anita and Susie and Fred Hunter, Susie Smedley. They still go, and one of the old places, Foxy's, where we all hung out, is still going. It sits on the water, kind of a floating bar.
Still there.
Yeah, it's still there, and it's still every once in a while it gets overloaded with people. I've heard recently that said, yeah, it still happens. It'll start going underwater. It's just a well-known name of the river.
And they throw people off there to get it back floating again.
Yeah.
Or people fall off maybe.
And your dad was an amazing water skier.
Oh, really?
Yes, he was awesome. I mean, he was fun to watch.
Is that why you were turned on by him? Like
that was it, honey.
Yeah,
it was the water skiing.
Yeah. Was it the hairy legs?
And he taught me to water ski. I think that frustrated him, but he did. That was sweet. So.
Well, I know how patient Dad is and how he was with us, so I can imagine that he was probably the same with you. Oh, how rad though! To go back to that, you know.
So cool.
So going from there, I mean, obviously that was that's late 60s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, people talk about the summer of '69, and that's always the common phrase. And then I was born in
70.
Summer of '70, so we were kind of curious what was going on at the end of the '69 there. Were TVs not invented yet? No. Anyway, that was question. No. That was Stefan's question. I didn't ask that.
No.
For sure.
I can take it away now. And then Greg have a sister too.
Mm-hmm. quickly, shortly after that.
Oh, so how many years is it between them?
15 months. Yeah.
Oh, so the summer of 16.
Summer 69 went. Summer 70
Summer 70, yeah, okay.
came and went. And then, yeah.
And she was
and
born
then-
in 71. Yeah. It was amazing to get that dad just going, what? Kidding me. Yep.
How did that
It
happen?
was.
But, and all the time, obviously, you were working too. And then, I mean, it's kind of cool to see how life has changed so much as what we live in today. But what was it? I mean, I was born. How much time did you have off work?
Well, I had to, when I was still working at BASF when I was pregnant with you, and they made you quit. You had to quit like about 6 or 7 months. I would have gone all 9 months, but they didn't let you back then. So I just started doing, I did work for Stan Speed and Color, Greg, by the way.
Uh-huh.
He just passed away. Stan did at 90 something. But I would go and get his paperwork, do the billing and stuff. I'd bring it all home and do it in between. I mean, after a little while after you kids, both of you were able to, a little bit older, I took a little bit of time off. But then after Carrie was born, I started babysitting for 3 more little kids. So I had like 6 munchkins, for extra money, keep going. And
Whose kids were those? Or is it anybody I would...
you wouldn't remember. I mean, you were,
Oh, that's crazy.
there was a little boy named Craig and a little girl named Lisa. And I have some pictures somewhere that are really cute of all of you guys together. And I think back on it now wondering, how did I ever do
I
that?
remember the pictures now.
Dropping them off. They had, 6. There was 1, 2, 3. Yeah, there were 6 of you little guys.
Dang, yeah, and I think this is cool because my brother's, he's old enough that he can quite tell me stories about these periods. I don't remember a lot of it, but he'll elaborate on different houses that we lived in or something, or schools or wherever we were, and different people. So to hear this is kind of cool because and he's got a great memory, so he comes up with some crazy stories once in a while and tells me, yeah, don't you remember that? And I'm like, no, dude, I was small. but that's cool. I didn't even realize that.
Wow. But did Dave live with you every week, or was he with his dad somewhere?
His dad, when we split up, he took off, and that's when he went to Hawaii, and in Chicago, and I was I was close to his parents, and they wanted him to be more responsive to Dave. His dad made sure he was.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, they would send some money.
And they were in
Then they
California,
started
right?
They were until we split up. That's when he took off for Hawaii. But, they ended up being close, and I let Dave's grandparents take them to Chicago at one point. It took me a long time to let that happen. Well, he was like 9, I think. But so I mean, and he's always kept in touch. And Dave moved back there for 20 some years.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
But the cold was killing him. He'd had it.
Yeah, there's nothing like coming back to California, right? To thaw out
Yeah.
or whatever you gotta do. So they went, obviously Dave's dad went to Illinois to live and started his business and did everything he did there. So then my dad more or less raised Dave from that point, so
It was very sweet of him to take him on.
Yeah. So you're raised together, all 3 of you.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So, and then, so I have vague memories of a lot of this stuff, and every once in a while we talk about it, but, at that age, you know, when I remember trips to the river, because my grandparents, my dad's mom and dad had was it a house or a trailer out there, Mom, out at the river?
Yeah.
We went out of the river. You know the river?
Yeah.
They had, was it a trailer?
Yeah, from what I remember, I have a few pictures of
And
us out there.
I have vague memories of being out there with the family and cousins and stuff.
You were
My dad
little.
yeah, for sure.
Oh.
And my dad is the only boy of 7 kids. He had 6 sisters.
Oj.
So we have there's a lot of cousins and stuff, obviously over the years too. And my mom has had one brother, Uncle Tom. So did Uncle Tom ever go with us out to the river too?
No. Uncle Tom graduated from high school in 1969 down in Laguna Beach.
In Laguna?
Mom and Grammy
Oh,
and Uncle Tom moved to Laguna Beach when Uncle Tom was like a freshman.
right. And he was younger than you, huh?
Yeah, 4.5 years.
4.5 years. Okay, gotcha. So I mean, what was Grammy? She waited. She was 4.5 years in between. What the heck?
How did he?
I know.
When you got pregnant so young, did he? He was 4.5 younger than you. How was he when
Yeah.
he came with a baby?
You were gonna say barn.
Boy.
Oh, I
Baby boy,
thought you were gonna
born.
throw the Swedish barn on him. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. A barn.
You're gonna
Yeah.
go for barn, like a Swedish. That's Swedish for kids.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mom. So, anyway, I had to get some in there. We got some Swinglish going on.
Yeah,
Here.
the English barn is inte glada. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
So, Mom, tell us about having that first barn. How was it?
So,
Did you understand the question?
We weren't really animals.
so what was the question again?
Yeah.
Now, Uncle Tom, was he a part of Dave's younger years when you were so young?
Yeah, very much so. Very much. He was 13 when Dave was born, and
Dang.
they grew up together. They even ended up working together.
Wow.
I even worked with him at one stage, but we'll leave that for later.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It was great.
So he was pretty influential at that time. Having him around there. Cool.
And when we lived at Martha Place, Uncle Tom was there a lot, and he lived with us for a while when Dad and I split up. You probably don't remember that.
How old was I when you guys split up? I always tell people I was like 17 and 20 and sometimes 30.
Unfortunately, it was really young.
Yeah,
I think
I want to say 3 or 4.
3 or 4, somewhere around there. It was a kind of a rough time, but yeah, somewhere around there, 3 or 4. And you guys were little, and we had a neighbor, Lori, that lived on that same street that used to babysit you all the time. Yeah, and she was there to watch you guys when I went to work and stuff.
Yeah, I remember. See, I do remember her, and I have vague memories of that stuff, but that's the thing, being that small, I don't have that many memories of Mom and Dad being together.
No, exactly.
In that sense, I do remember the river trips. I do remember doing things together with Uncle Tom and things like that with you guys. I remember, the odd get together or party or Christmas at Grammy's house. Small things like that. But they're so vague. There's not a lot of detail to a lot of this stuff. So in one way, I think it's cool because the way we've grown up, you grow up in a different society, but now I understand so much more, obviously having kids too, and thinking about Mom. You guys aren't really getting the whole story of maybe more will come out now, but I mean, to live as a single mom at that stage and taking care of 3 kids, and work in and getting us to school and food and oh my goodness, I look back on it now, I know how hard it is with Jenny and I as it is now, and I can't say it's hard for me because I spend my life on the road, and but
Well, you know what, honey? I loved being a mom. None of that ever bothered me. Going to work. I mean, it's just what you do. You gotta put food on the table and a roof over your head. And I never gave it a thought of all that.
Was it hard to get daycares and stuff for the kids?
They were about, let's see, in first grade, second grade. They did all go to like a preschool and a nursery school. And then when they were little, I mean, they were going off almost on their own, for so to speak. I mean, we'd get them off to school, and then they'd come home, and I just worked, gosh, maybe a mile down the road.
Oh,
So I was always right close to them, and they would come home after school, and they would snacks out for them. And as soon as I came, and Dave was there too. He was there to kind of help
Dave,
watch.
yeah.
Yeah, that bothered me a little bit. I knew I could be home in 5 minutes, and they knew how to use the phone. And I think back on it now, wondering, wow, how
in
did
today's society, huh?
yeah? Oh my gosh, it's just crazy.
no mobile phones.
Oh my gosh, yeah, there was no mobile phones, and it was the street lights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The street lights told us what time it was and when we needed to be home and when it was time for food, and it was kind of the time too.
Oh,
Oh no, I'm not home.
Yeah, and the neighbors, it's always neighbor kids, but they're all the bikes out in front and fun time.
And that's the difference. There's the periods that I remember. So there was a lot of those early years that I don't remember much of how we lived. I can remember small things. I've said to my mom too. I remember pulling my sister in a wagon, walking down towards the dairy.
Oh my gosh, you remember that?
That wasn't.
Wow.
Yeah, I think we had this conversation once a while back, and I can remember my sister being super small, and pulling her in a wagon. There was a dairy just down the street
Yep.
from us, right? And I can remember going there with a wagon. Probably somebody was with us because I would have been
Yeah,
really little.
no, you
But
wouldn't.
I have vague memories of walking down there and getting stuff and walking back, but I can't remember the street. My brother took me back down that street not long ago and showed me where it was, and I was like, wow. To think back on that, and we would never do some of the stuff today in today's world. Of course you would. But when I think back on it like it was for us, hey, is that an airplane?
Mute.
Do you live in a treehouse? And we make jokes about it, but my mom lives in a really cool place, and it's in an apartment built over some garages, and it's actually a property that's owned by a world famous Speedway rider, Bobby Schwartz. We'll tell lots of stories about Bobby, and in the future, and hopefully we'll get an interview with him at some point too. So it was anyway. She lives in a really cool place, not far from Orange County Airport, and if you want, I can give you her address, and you guys can drop in and say hello. And she loves having guests all the time.
make a great coffee.
Yeah, really good coffees, and she's super hospitable and just super welcoming. So lots of extra rooms in there. And
Well, and Stefan, we had a lot of
she just,
different company come over in years past.
Oh.
And they would stay at our house. It had like 3 4 bedrooms, and we would make big beds on the floor. We call them land beds, and wherever. I mean, at one point we had, gosh, Eric and Hella and Andrea and Simon Cross and
this is Eric Gunderson,
Yeah.
Ella Gunderson.
Wow.
People in the Speedway world know these names, and we had all of them. This is after Eric's
And Bowie.
accident, and Simon and Andrea Cross, and Darren Bucock.
Wow.
Yeah, the Moran. I've got pictures of all those guys at the house, and Kelly Moran, and it was
Phil Collins.
it was open house for everyone. Yeah, Phil Collins.
Oh. Is that because of you, or did you have the connections before, and why did they?
that pretty much comes later in the story here about me, my journey to Europe and racing together with these guys, living with these guys, and just Darren Buchhock. Actually, we met before any of these guys. He used to come back and forth between Australia and England because his parents immigrated to Australia. They're from England from the beginning, and Darren would travel as a kid. He was really young, and he ended up in the beginning back and forth with his parents. They'd stop in LA on their way to Australia quite often for a Speedway event, or just they made it a stop off to visit friends, etc. But Darren never stopped that. When his parents stopped traveling, Darren would still go back and forth winters and summers, and because he was racing a little bit himself. And so we knew him at a pretty young age with his big thick Coke bottle glasses, and and later in life it became me going to Europe, and then these guys meeting all these guys, and they would come over. I invited everybody over, and without asking mom and dad. It was great. I was still living at their house.
People would say, "Oh, my mom would love to have you."
Yeah, mom would love you guys. She's the best.
And I loved every minute of it.
Yeah. Wow. So yeah, we'll come to those stories. It was, man, there's a lot of stories, and there's a lot of history that's going to come out of this. It's going to be fun and meeting. Well, hopefully we're going to get a lot of these people to join us at some stage, and it's going to be unreal, especially when I get to tell you stories about Lance King when I first went to Europe, and then living with the Gundersons and living with Simon and Andrea Cross, and then eventually standing on my own 2 feet and moving on, and then meeting so many great people along the way. So it's it's a long way to go. Let's go back to Mom.
Yeah. Mom, so, do you remember when Greg first sat on a Speedway bike?
Well, pretty much. I mean, I don't know if it wouldn't have been the first day he sat on that bike, but when he was little and when they had the junior races too, I was there always at Costa Mesa to watch him race. It was just meant to be with him, and with all my kids, people would say, "I can't believe you let your boys, ride motorcycles." And I'd say, "Why not?" I mean, they're not out doing drugs. They're not out. They're busy working on their bikes and going to school, and they love it, and I wouldn't take that away from them, no matter what.
We didn't tell her everything. No.
Yeah, thank God.
How did you introduce yourself to the Speedway world for the first time? Do you remember when?
You talking about me?
Yeah, or Mom, I don't know, or if you remember together.
I think if we back up, Mom, right? When Mom and Dad split up, this is a key part to everything, actually. When Mom and Dad separated, Dad ended up moving from where we lived in, was that Fullerton then? Or was that?
Yeah.
We lived in Fullerton, California. And Dad moved down to Balboa Island in Newport Beach.
He lived somewhere else in between before he moved down there.
Oh, okay.
It was a while.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even know this. Okay. Oh. This is cool. I didn't even know this. If I did, I didn't listen, probably. Like normal. That's why I was so good in school. That's why I'm a speedway today.
Oh.
Where did he live then?
Do you remember? I think it was in Fullerton also, maybe. And he had an apartment. It was upstairs. And I don't know, Carrie remembers.
Oh, I do remember.
Remember when he had the crutches?
I do remember. Yep, when he broke his hip or dislocated his hip or something.
I can't remember what it was. I thought it was a foot or something, but
I remember he crashed on a motorcycle, and I remember that's one thing I do remember. I remember him having to go to the hospital and someone having to pick us up, and we were out riding with friends or something. Is that right? Or
oh, that sounds right. Yes.
That's right.
That was it.
So I do remember that apartment that he was at. Now, did he have his own company then, or was he still working for somebody?
I don't know if he still had Hancock Paint down in Fullerton there. I can't remember when that moved on, and he was just doing his own thing for a long time. For it's the boat place he used to do. He did a lot of work on the side.
Well, then he had Designs and Paint, right? That was his.
Mm-hmm.
And that came, but that was later, or was that when you guys were together too?
That's when we were together, and I would take you kids down there because he worked day and night constantly. I mean, he was always at his little shop, and so I'd put you and Carrie and Greg and or Dave in the car, and we would go down there probably every day. And I thought you had to, so you could see your dad and hang out, just
And that was in
it's just
Fullerton?
what we did. Hmm?
I don't even remember that, because I remember when he went to the place in Placentia when he had the big shop.
Yeah, that was that was afterwards.
That was later. Gotcha. Okay.
Hmm.
I didn't even know he had the small shop. I don't remember that.
Wow,
That's going back.
this is cool.
So my dad is his trade or his business was automotive paint too. So he was a painter, kind of an artist as well. So it's funny how this all worked out. Mom was in the paint industry, he was in the paint industry, and he was quite the artist. He did a lot of cool custom paint jobs and ended up doing work for Ford dealers and stuff, doing production vehicles where he was painting lots of cars. And back then it wasn't like robots where every car is basically a double. He had to duplicate every vehicle by hand.
Wow.
So he'd come up with a custom design for a run of cars for a company called Roll Along. And
Yeah.
wasn't it Fairway Ford and Roll Along had some collaboration back then, right?
Yeah, I believe
Or
they
something.
did.
Roll
And
Along
he used to
did
paint a
very
lot
good
of
work.
boats too in his Hancock designs too.
Wow, so the special designs.
Yeah, he was
Total
good at it. Great.
Wow.
Yeah, when I think about it now, it'll be fun to talk to him and hear the whole stories, how many vehicles he painted. But I remember, with the different people at his shop, it was a lot bigger, the second shop that he was at. And then there was cars coming in quite regular, and they'd have to lay the paint jobs out, on the side. And he'd have to do one van, and then he'd have to go to the next van, and he'd go back to look at the first one, how he did the design, and then copy it. And then the next van would come, and you have to copy it again, and then copy it again.
Wow.
That was your photocopy back then, and it was a lot of hours. I mean, Mom obviously she knows she sat through a lot of that stuff too. But I've seen some of his custom work now, even more. I remember it from his photo albums, from boats to airplanes, even a lot of helmets and things like that, which is quite fun when we come up to present day and the connections from Stan Betts, like you said, Mom, and then the connections with Troy Lee Designs these days, and where that has started and grown. Our families have met with a lot of cool people over the years with Troy and his family, and it's a whole nother story that we'll cross along the way, and my mom can probably tell endless stories about some of these people.
Wow.
But anyway, going back to your question,
Yeah.
Dad and Mom separated, and then when Dad eventually moved to Balboa Island is when he rented an apartment there, which at similar time, another friend of mine and former writer, Josh Larson, his father was relatively newly separated from his wife, and he lived on the downstairs apartment from where my dad was on the island. And they got together and became buddies, of course, and then it became Friday nights out. Friday nights were pretty typical to go to Costa Mesa Speedway. That's where the Speedway was going on, and I think that's where Dad got introduced to Speedway, if I got my story straight, but he'll confirm that later. So Dad, that I remember, he would pick us up. We ended up spending, like 85% of the time living with Mom, and then we would have every second weekend with Dad.
Oh.
So he would pick us up after work, take us down to Balboa Island, and we'd have dinner or something somewhere along the way, go to Speedway on Friday nights, after dinner, watch the races, and then we had the weekend at his house at the beach, and we had our groups of friends there, and sun, surf, and sand, and all that good stuff, and riding bicycles, and that's kind of where the Speedway world really took off, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, with Dad taking you guys all the time, we had a lot of friends that were going to Speedway, too, when you were
Even
a little
before
guy.
that? Oh, right on. See, it's cool. This is good. I'm getting
Just have it in here.
Yeah, I'm getting. Yeah, there was Speedway all around us.
Wow.
Yeah, paint.
And then you started to ride. You got your first bike, or did you?
My brother started first,
Oh.
and my brother is like crazy talented dude. He can do. It feels like he's the kind of guy that it doesn't matter what you put in front of him, he just picks it up, and he's got it.
Wow.
It's pretty cool. He's very coordinated. You know, give him a baseball bat, give him a soccer ball, give him or a football, as you might say.
Yeah.
Giving him a basketball, American football, tennis racket, a frisbee. He can do it. You give him a bicycle, you give him a one-wheeler. Am I wrong, Mom? He's just...
No, you're right. And Uncle Tom was a lot that way as well. I mean, anything you handed him, no matter what it was, or even a job,
Wow.
he could just do it.
It,
Crazy. Dave had no fear.
yeah. Probably the difference between Dave and I. he was the kind of guy, Dave, you do it. You go, I'll do it. And he'll still do it.
Yeah.
I'd have to try it like 100 times and go, okay, maybe I can try it now.
Just see other people do it first.
Yeah, we need to watch everybody else crash and hurt themselves and go, why would I want to do that? But
Oh my God. And you were so cute on the track. I mean, you were always, I used to say, he rides with his head. I mean, he knows where he wants to go. And he was just a little guy, and I'd hear somebody in the stands saying, well, come on, just get going. And I'd say, hey, you know what?
he's on a
He knows what he's doing. And I used to tell people, honest to God, Greg, when you were little, I would say, you watch, that little guy's going to go to the top. You know, because he'd back off like he wasn't aggressive, so to speak. He was in his way. But what, you know, people would say, well, you need to go faster and you need to do this. And I just thought, you just wait. And it happened.
Wow. Little
Crazy.
did you know.
Yeah.
But that was, you know, going that Dave started before I did. And that was probably the worst thing for me ever, as great as it was, because I was just like, I want to ride. But he was older, so he could start riding earlier. I was too young and too small for the bikes.
Oh.
I'm still pretty small, but I've been small my whole life, looking up to people. Spend my life looking up to people. Still looking
I'm
up
sorry,
to people.
honey. That's my fault.
Thanks, that's okay, Mom. I'm not complaining.
You have goals.
You learn a lot looking up to people. The hard part is I can't really look down on too many people. Only my kids, and then they still move me around. So no, but he started riding, and I mean, the story goes and goes. I mean, the connection with my dad made in the Speedway world with Josh Larson's dad, Charlie Tuna, who's an iconic name in American Speedway, especially during that period. You know, they became quite good buddies and started hooking up with all the riders in the group, and it was Bobby Schwartz and those times, and it was even before that with the Mike Bass and Alan Christians and Dub Farrells and Sonny Nutter and Danny Becker. I mean, all these names that don't mean anything to you, but they're pretty iconic names in American Speedway. And but the connection with Bobby Schwartz became probably the biggest connection for me and my brother, and he was a very influential, because he was only 16 or 17 when my dad and Charlie Tuna, the guy, used to start. They started helping him and working with him, and he was still young in the game, and he was from LA area, but then had a lot of time in connection to Santa Barbara. But my dad and Charlie were helping him quite a bit, helping him through life. He was young, but he knew what he wanted, and he was going for it. My dad and Charlie just tried to help him along the way, and they did the best they could in many different cases. But Bobby was determined and had a very successful career in Speedway, and went pretty long as the early Americans that got involved in the sport, and spent a lot of years in England. And today he's still riding bikes. You know, he was like a big brother, an idol. Many different things for us. So without him, I'm not sure how far we would have gone, but we learned a lot from him. He helped us a lot and was definitely very influential in our career. So my brother got going, and then eventually when I was old enough, my dad was building me a bike, a half-scale bike with a Triumph 200 Cub in it. And at that stage, it felt like forever that he was building this bike. And it probably wasn't that long, but when you're young and you just want to ride, it felt like 25 years, you know. But Dave was riding in junior speedway, and my dad started traveling quite a bit up to Northern California to take him to races and back down. And then eventually I started riding too in the junior speedway world. And my brother was up into the 500 classes in the amateur ranks. And for us, that became a regular part of life, right, Mom?
You're right.
So
did you go to a lot of the practice and see them ride?
Did I?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, anytime he was riding, and sometimes on the weekends his dad would take him out, but I was always there for the races.
And again, where Mom lived in Fullerton, we ended up somehow, all the friends that we had and school friends that we met there, we ended up getting a couple of them involved in Speedway because my brother was involved. And this was the Corey family, was the main ones. Ronnie, Scott, Corey are two that went. And Ronnie Corey had a long, successful career in England and in Europe too, through Sweden and Poland and World Championships like I did too. And then had a nasty injury where he broke his back, and that slowed his career down quite a bit. And pretty much, I didn't finish him. He came back and raced again for a while and was still good, but I think that injury was pretty tough and hard to come back from at the same level. But anyway, we had motorcycles and Speedway in our area. So whatever we did, wherever we went, if we were at school, before or after school, we were racing around on the school playgrounds and in the school hallways and sliding around the parks. Everything was turning left and sliding the bike and riding wheelies, and motorcycles were definitely a daily part of our lives.
Oh, that's cool. I can see that your kids are doing the same, more or less.
You mean turning left?
Turning left, yeah, or riding on everything.
And yeah, it doesn't matter. That feels like whatever we do in life, and even with our kids today, there's always something. It has to be a race, and it tends to be 4 laps going around in ovals. So I don't know what the heck happened, but you know, we always finish where we started.
Yeah, or if something is fun, I mean, why stop?
Without a doubt. So there was a lot of good times, huh, Mom?
Oh, I'll say a lot. It's
So-
been a good life of bikes.
So all the time we were going to the speedways on the Friday nights when we took off with Dad, what were you doing?
It's funny. I was just talking to somebody about that the other day. When Friday nights came, and when Dad picks you up, and you think, "Oh, it's my free weekend," yeah. But as soon as you guys would leave, I would feel, as crazy as it sounds, I'd feel sad, and I would walk down and I'd see your rooms are not. You guys aren't sleeping in your rooms, and I always felt kind of yucky. And then Saturday morning hit, and I go, okay. I couldn't even go out on Friday night and party. But it's crazy.
Seriously?
I am very serious. And I mean, sometimes people come over or something, but for the most part, you know, it was Saturday night, and then you guys would be back in the afternoon, usually on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd make the most of it or sometimes I would just work since you guys were with Dad, then I'd have to leave you.
There was no babysitters or nothing. You
I think I have this time on my hands. Why aren't I? What did you want to do?
Work.
Hard worker.
Money.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it's all good. All good. Nothing to complain about.
Well, we talked about me and Dave racing, and then you have my little sister,
Oh yeah.
who was just classic, right? How many times have we mentioned her name in all this growing up?
Oh, God love her.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it almost sometimes it feels like she's the forgotten one, because everything was around the Speedway, but she was there every minute, every second of the day with us, right behind us, supporting us, pushing us, no matter how much crap we gave her. She was right there, and she stuck, still to the day, like our biggest fans, no matter what we do. She's the one I always call for, like, who was that again? I can't remember this specific part of our life and our family member, like that distant cousin, whatever. She can like rattle off everything. She's got the memory that's unreal. And
so we got to speak to her someday, huh?
yeah, we will speak to her. We have to. The question is, will she speak to us? So we don't know about that. But,
She's great.
and maybe we don't want to hear some of this stuff. She might tell the truth. Then we're really in trouble. But
With that memory, yeah.
so she's the youngest in the family, but she was the first one to have kids, and showed me and my brother, how to raise kids. And what we do. So, but anyway, she was right there all the way, and we always, no matter what, you feel bad. I remember my dad would always too trying to, what can I do to make her happy and get her a motorcycle, or she had a 3-wheeler that she would ride around on, but she was just happy hanging with us, it seemed like, or at least she played it off well.
Yeah, I think you're right about that too. I mean, that little girl could, I'm sure, have taken a Speedway bike apart and put it back together again on her own.
Wow. Did she ever tried?
I don't know. I don't know if the boys would let her.
We mentioned this before. I don't know if she actually ever did ride a Speedway bike. She's ridden motorcycles, but she rode her 3-wheeler. She was comfortable on a 3-wheeler. Those were popular back in the day, but today it's 4-wheelers. Because the 3-wheelers would tip over pretty easy, and as much fun as they were dangerous. Run over your own feet and stuff like that. It wasn't pretty, but I don't know how much she rode. Like I said, she was just happy to be a part of it and be a part of the show and right there to help out. And I don't know that she was ever an issue at all. It was probably more just brother sisterly, love and quarrels and things like that. But I remember my dad feeling super guilty because everything was about me and my brother and racing motorcycles and everything about the bikes and whatever. But she was just as dirty as we were at the end of the weekend, covered. And but yeah, still like you said, and she's working in the motorcycle industry and takes care of a company, Baja Tours, which is a guy by the name of Chris Haynes, who comes from the Honda world. He worked for Honda Racing Corporation, and we'll let her tell that story someday. But she's running a part of the company there that they organize trips to from California down to Mexico and do Baja tours on motorcycles, and it's like exclusive stuff for people that want to rent and do a tour of Baja on a bike, or do they have the Baja 500, the Baja 1000, these big races every year, and these guys offer a full service of motorcycles with support from the factories, and you can have helicopters that follow you during the races and things like that. It's kind of an exclusive deal, but anybody that's ever thought about it, has a company that wants to do a corporate tour, I can highly recommend it. This sounds like a plug for the company, but it is. It's unreal what those guys do. So you can look it up, Baja Tours.
I should do that.
Yeah, for sure. This is not a sponsored episode. I was just saying that because I think it's rad, and my sister works there. But anyway, this is all about Mom. Let's go back to Mom.
I'm loving listening.
So, Mom, we've talked about our racing, we've talked about life, and this can get really in depth, a lot of this, but you are also a breast cancer survivor.
Mm-hmm.
This is something that's big for everybody, no matter what part of life or what time of life we go through. I mean, you went through this, and what year was that?
1985. I think I was 38 or somewhere around there.
So you can go back and you can think about technology then to what we have today. But thankfully, Mom is a survivor and still in remission. And it's pretty rad because we were so 85, so I was like 15. But during that period, I didn't understand or realize how serious it was. And Mom was pretty good not to play it off like it for us at that period, or we just didn't know, we didn't get it. But today, to understand what she went through, have Mom is on a huge pedestal, and yeah, you can speak pretty highly of it, right?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it was, you just do what you've got to do. I remember I didn't want you kids to know, but I figured I didn't want you to hear it from anybody. So I remember telling you in a way that, look, I have this, but it's no worries. I already talked to the doctor. He's going to fix it. I'll have surgery and everything's fine. So just I don't want you to worry. Didn't want you to worry. You know, you just go on. And I went back to work really quick after that. I mean, I didn't want to sit around and think about it. You know, I'd go to radiation every day at St. Jude for 2 months, and then I would go to work. And I had an awesome boss who only would pay me for the whole day every day instead of half day, you know, for the radiation. Yeah, they were wonderful. And it was good. I mean, you get back to work and you're not, I didn't want to sit around and think about it. I could have taken up a lot of time, but you know, you're better off just keep moving. So it was all good. I'm blessed.
Or superwoman.
Thanks,
At some
Stefan.
point, she's a superwoman for sure. If you like to back up to that time period, and you know the way we all live life, we all, you know, it's the life we choose. But you know, and especially today, I really look back on it. I'm like, you know what? Sometimes I have to call Mom when I see the kids have got stuff all over the floor and stuff, and I just want to call her and go, I'm so sorry. You know, because you did this by yourself a lot of the times. Of course, you have people around, you know, or maybe there was somebody else living with us. But I have so much respect for Mom. Everybody has respect for their families, their moms and their dads. But, this is really cool, and of course, even my brother's wife has been through this breast cancer thing, so there's a lot of you know, I'm sure they've shared a lot of things, and it's one of those things that you're just pleased that they've made it through, and every day is a new day, and you know, no matter if it gets talked about or doesn't get talked about, it's you know, we put them on a pedestal because they're special people, and we always respect the breast cancer research and things like that. So it's
My mom did it too.
Really?
So, but it's hard to. Yeah, I think it's hard to. It was quite recently, 2-3 years ago, and I think it's hard to see from behind how hard it is. Or my mom is also really good to hide it, I think. But I mean, I could see it from an adult years or age when she had to go a lot of what do you say, treatments, yeah, and they had this radiation.
Mm-hmm.
So I think back in the 80s, I mean, there has to be a lot of worse then. I mean, with the technology and the surgeries.
Yeah. So I had a wonderful doctor too, which I think that helps going through that. If you've got a doctor that you absolutely love and trust and keeps you where you need to be.
I think you women are great. I mean, I couldn't have done it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, what can I say? Yeah, my shoulder really hurts. Ouch. Oh.
You know, what was funny?
Speaking of that, yeah.
What was funny is after the surgery, my left arm would not work. I mean, it just hung there, and what am I going to do? And I would try to do exercises, but I was driving a little 5-speed Toyota, and this was up in Fullerton, Greg, and then I had to drive down to Costa Mesa, you know, to Scenic. And so I was literally, it was my right arm. It was my right arm. So my left arm, I was reaching over and I was going down the freeway, and I used it to shift, not because my right arm was the one that wouldn't work. And people would never believe that. And I'm going, I'm serious. I did it. I did it and then I would go to work and I would take like a yardstick and I would hold it with my hand up under my arm, and I would call it walk the wall. You know, while I was at work, I could worry, I could make it work. Funny. The things you can do when you're young. And
oh, absolutely. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean, again, these things can get so deep. There's so many. And when you mentioned your car, like your Pinto and some of the cars that you talked about, I mean, we have to talk more about this. About we're going to have to dig deep at a later stage, Mom. And people need to hear the stories of the 60s and the 70s and the cars you guys drove and the Nomads that Dad had and you know, I mean, were you really a
Oh,
hippie?
there's another story with a Nomad.
I have two questions for you about Greg. And is what good sides of you does Greg have?
Oh boy. Smiling?
That was a good question.
Uh-huh.
I don't know how to put that. I think Greg and I, for years, have been on the same boat on a situation with getting to know people and not judging them right off the bat, where sometimes you think, oh, I don't like you. And we both agreed, well, if I don't like something about this person, I'm going to give it another shot because, you know, I don't want to make a fast decision on people in general because we love people.
Wow.
I was just going to say the same thing. If you didn't say that, Mom, I was going to say, you know what? I think we have this crazy notion to not see
Yes.
the bad in people much of the time. We look for the good all the time, and that's probably why we always give them the second chance. So sometimes the first impression can be wrong, but I think there's got to be something good there. So I always look for the good, and many times you end up kicking yourself in the teeth, but you go, oh, well, you know, I tried. I had to give him a second chance to make that first
That's
impression.
true.
Of course.
So I think that's what I think I get from Mom. I'm glad that we're on the same
And sometimes,
page.
I mean, you like them. You go, okay, maybe I don't quite like what you do, but I love the other part of you. And so I choose for you to be my my good buddy, too.
Oh, that's so cool. And if you turn around on the question, or how do you
Here we go.
if you don't understand what bad sides does Greg have from you?
Oh, no.
Mom doesn't have any
we
bad
don't.
sides. Come on.
I'm just kidding. Oh, gosh.
Don't
I
everyone
don't
has
know.
one? The right side.
The right side, not the left side. Because it's the right side, but I always stay away from the right.
Or does Greg have any bad sides?
No.
Oh, she's got to be honest. She's got to be honest now.
Yeah, this is
This
is serious.
This is the best because I mean, no matter who it is, a friend, a colleague, my wife, anybody that wants to put any sort of trash on me, you don't take that with Mom.
No.
No.
I'm a saint.
He used to have a little reputation for being late. But
Did I get that
he
from
was
you?
never. No. Never mind.
No, okay.
But you always
That
made
was
it.
hard. That was hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. You can. That's a tough one.
Yeah.
We should ask my brother and sister this
Oh
question.
gosh.
Oh,
So
yeah.
That's
what
scary.
What bad side do you think you got from your mom?
Oh, they will go
It's
on.
too late now.
The truth just came out, and this is gonna be good. It's a good thing we don't have them sitting around here too, because I'd probably get beat up.
Me
right
too.
now. Do you ever go, Lillian? Yeah, you would too, for sure. Yeah, we're in this together,
I-
Mom. I still see the good in them, though.
I don't even know what they would say. Oh my god.
My mom's classic thing that she'll say about people, whether she likes them or she doesn't, even if she doesn't like them, they mean
Yep.
well.
Oh, they mean well.
They mean well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's cool. Should we go on for the 45 seconds?
I think we should. You know what? We've taken up a lot of Mom's day, and I mean the sun is probably gonna get really hot there.
It's
soon,
actually
and-
cloudy now.
Oh, it is. Oh, did we?
It's
you
rolling
missed
in.
the sun? Oh no! Oh no!
we should get back to your mom later on.
Yeah. Can we always do that, Mom? Can we come back to it at a later period and dig deeper?
Oh, it would be my pleasure. Thank
Wow.
you.
There we go.
That's very
And now
kind.
now you have time to think about my bad side.
Yeah.
No, you're
We will
a,
get
you're
back to
a
that
good
question.
boy.
Oh, tell me more.
He is.
Hear all those people, all those haters out there in the Speedway world. Did you hear what my mom just said?
He's awesome, and he's an awesome son. Yes, I've been blessed with
Man. That's why I got such a big helmet.
3 awesome kids.
Big helmet.
Yeah, the head just grew. The head grew. I had to get it. What were you thinking, Stefan? Where are you going with this? It's my mom.
Depends on where you
This
put
is
your
my
helmet.
Mom.
I say it because it's true.
Oh my gosh. Okay, Mom, we're coming to this part of the segment. We kind of explained it to you earlier, but when we have guests on the show, we don't want to call you a guest. We want to call it your mom. So anyway, we still
Family.
have to do it. Your family. And we have this thing, 45 seconds. Stefan has the timer, and we time for 45 seconds. We rapid fire questions at you, and we want you to answer them bang as the first thing that comes to your mind. It's no stress. And don't think about it. Just the first thing that comes to your mind. If it feels like it takes too long, we'll pass and go to the next one. But this is just to let people to kind of get to know you a little bit better. So when you're ready, Stefan will go, and we'll take questions. He'll take the first one, I'll take the second one, and the third one until it hits 45 seconds, and then bing, we'll stop. So you think you can do this?
I can try. Hesitantly, she says.
Before we go there is one more thing. My mom does have a bad side.
Oh,
She got in trouble at school once.
once. Can you tell us about it?
What did you get in trouble at school for, Mom?
Oh, a
Here
few
comes your bad
times.
side.
For laughing. Many times, honey. There's a lot of those stories.
She told me, as she told us earlier, that she got in trouble. The one time she got in trouble at school was for laughing. Was it in a choir?
We were doing like a Christmas choir for all the parents, and since I was short, man, I was in the front, and so was my friend, and
I know how
we
it feels.
started laughing, and we ruined it. We couldn't stop even when they told us to.
You're not allowed to have fun. Did you live like in some weird part of the world? You can't laugh?
I had one teacher he was probably 6 foot tall, and he caught me laughing in the back of the class, and he goes, "Carol, is Lee entertaining you again? You want it?" And he saw I had a piece of paper in my hand. He goes, "You want to come bring that up to my desk?" Well, I'm still laughing. I can't stop. And I walked up, and he's starting to grin as I'm walking up with this, and I had to show him this paper that I was laughing about, and it was a teacher, and he was standing in front of the blackboard, and somebody threw a knife into the blackboard. And it said,
A knife.
"This is not a snap course," or something like that. And he had a Mickey Mouse hat on. And this teacher started laughing, which was really funny. He had a Mickey Mouse hat on, yeah, and that's what it was. So
Wow.
there's
Super cool. Well, that's the Mickey Mouse hat. That's where it went.
Yeah.
That was...
he had a Mickey Mouse hat. I think there was 2 different ones. Or this is not a snap course because somebody had thrown a knife or something into the blackboard. I thought, oh my gosh, he's going to be mad, and I can't stop laughing. What am I going to do?
Are you really mad at me?
That's true.
Oh, God. All right, cool. At least we know where your bad side is.
Yeah.
Like, I got that from her.
Maybe we get back to that green thing later.
We will definitely come back to the grand. Okay, 45 seconds, Mom. Put your game face on.
You ready?
You can't laugh now. This is serious, all right?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
3, 2. Wait, I'm not ready.
Here, we'll try that again.
Yeah. Ready?
Countdown.
3, 2, 1. Do you live in a tree house?
Yes,
Cats or dogs?
both.
Cats or dogs?
Dogs, I guess.
Orange juice or mimosa?
Mimosa.
Left or right?
Right.
Dream car?
What?
Dream car. Your dream car.
A 62 Bentley.
Wow. 60s, 70s, or 80s?
60s.
Favorite music artist?
Oh, boy. Sorry.
That's it. That's
That's so
it.
many.
Did one come
Yes.
to mind? Like,
Oh, it's not an artist. That's a group.
yes.
I had a
Yes meaning the group, or yes
Sorry.
meaning...
Yes, meaning the group.
Was that the group? The group, yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
I had one more that we just had to ask you. Paint or thinners?
Paint or what?
Thinners.
Thinners.
Paint.
Why? There was always that luscious smell of paint or thinners in the paint shop. So I was going, next time, we gotta ask her, like, paint or thinners. Like, can you imagine how many thinners she's smelt over the years sitting in that paint store? It must have fried. You gotta fry something.
People would
in there.
come into us.
That's why I always laugh.
People would come into us and say, "Oh my gosh, how can you stand the smell in here?" And we didn't smell it anymore. You know, it was just what? I think it just kind of soaks into your brain.
And if you've ever been into an automotive paint store, maybe today it's not quite as bad because of the
Right.
air quality control stuff. Anyway, to walk into a body shop or that, you know it for sure. But hey, anyway, Mom, thank you so very much for giving us all this time, and it went longer than we anticipated. However, we know that it can go a real long time, and we're gonna dig into this more. So we thank you. We love you. I love you more than Stefan, I hope. But I think he
I
loves
don't
you
know.
too.
I'm really, really glad to talk to you. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. It was my pleasure, and I love you too, Greg. And thank you for having me.
No problem. We'll see you again soon. Hey, everybody. We thank you again for listening. You guys be sure to follow us. Go on to our Podbean, Real 45 podcast. Rate us. Give us your feedback, reviews, or you can follow us on Instagram or Twitter too at Real 45 podcast. And hey, I keep saying it, and I'll continue to say it. You know, have a great day. Keep it sideways, and as always, grin to win. So, Stefan, what do you say?
Oh, I'm just so stoked to talk to your mom. She's so nice. I love her.
Oh,
It's
bless
hard.
you.
It's
My
hard
head's
not to
gonna
love.
grow.
Well, we got more guests on the way, and stay tuned. Please keep an eye out on our social media channels there, and watch for the next guest. So thanks for listening, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Welcome to Real 45 with Stefan and Greg Hancock. We vibe out and have real talk, so tune in and check this out.